effects of the pandemic not only put the social, economic and political stability in the Pakistan, but similar impact has been created through the flood and climate change as well. So developing nation like Pakistan, we are the most affected in the context because these nations were already under economic strain and were unable to work toward the 17 goals due to the drains on the resources. So although a number of nations were falling behind the 2030 SDGs target prior to COVID-19, but the global health crisis exacerbated the gap and created more challenges for the realization of sustainability in coming decades. The major problem in achievement of sustainable development goals has now become the funding, because all nation has huge losses as a result of pandemic and climate change impacts. So the global economy contracted by 5% in 2020 due to the lockdown, while more than 5% due to the recent flood impacts. When the goals were set in 2015, national budget were flush with funds, but due to the economic showdown during the pandemic, there will be drastic reduction in fund allocation for the sustainable development goals. So on the behalf of these things, I recommend three main you can say recommendations, which are also the way forward for the sustainable goal, especially for in the context of Pakistan. So first one is the government should revisit, target and reprioritize them according to the domestic needs and their convergence with the national interest as well. So there is second one is there is a need to redefine the role and responsibilities of stakeholders to align the stakeholder efforts with the realization of different goals of Agenda 2030. So last one is, which is very important, that making sustainable decision requires adopting to the current context, anticipating further impact and using RISE-based framework. So on behalf of these three recommendations, I just thank you, all of you, listen me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mohsin Saab. Before I proceed to invite our Honorable Chair for her remarks, मेरी कैमरामैन से गुजारिश है, अगर आप लोगों के कैमरास जब सेट हो जाएं तो आप प्लीज तशरीफ रख लीजिएगा, ताकि आपसे पीछे बैठे ऑडियंस को दिक्कत का सामना ना करना पड़े. बहुत शुक्रिया जी. Moving on, I'd like to hand over to Dr. Aisha Ghaus Pasha, ma'am.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. A very good afternoon and assalamu alaikum to all the respected audience, respected panelists, friends from across the South and Southwest, South Asia region, my colleagues, and I see a lot of media here, I see a lot of academics here, and I wish you the best. I think what I've heard today about the SDGs and the review that we've seen, we are here together in this world at this point of time, which I see to be very challenging times, not only for us in Pakistan, but I see that for the whole region. while we are talking about SDGs, and I've heard people talk about their own respective progress in in different countries, there is a mixed pattern. There has been progress in some areas, in some regions. There has not, while the progress has been very slow in other goals and in some of the other regions. So what is very clear, that if we have to meet this 2030 agenda, which increasingly, if I can speak candidly, is seemingly becoming very difficult, given current situation, we have to come up with an urgent, strategic, and concerted effort and make accelerated progress. Now, what is challenging for us is that these are not the easiest of times to do that. Why? We all know about the global challenges raised because of the war in Russia, Ukraine, its impact globally on the economies internationally. We also know how COVID-19 has affected the global community in its impact, some more, some less, but the impact has been very significant. We know how current situation with the Feds increasing the interest rates has had its impact on currencies internationally. And for us personally, we also know how, and some of the other regions, countries in the region, we know how climate changes has adversely affected the region and us at this point of time. So we have to meet these goals at these challenging times, extraordinarily challenging times. I was talking to a few colleagues a little while ago. The inflation that has come down and has hit the global community, leaving behind very few countries from its adverse consequences, is significant. Its impact on the macroeconomy of those countries has become very significant. And while we are talking about the SDGs, and while we are talking about how we should be reviewing our own progress towards SDGs clearly is our own commitment to our own people. It is our international commitment also. We respect that. But I think what is more important is that for all of us, attainment of SDGs is our own national commitment to our own people, to our own population. For us, it is our doings. And we find this very difficult under difficult circumstances. All the more reason for us to get together, learn from each other, and cooperate with each other to take this forward. I was going through this number that the International Monetary Fund has indicated, and it indicates to the number is basically a little telling. It says that what is required, the loss because of to the whole region, the South Asia region, because of the recent events, the predicted loss is $4 trillion. Overall, which we face up from now up till 2026. This is not a small amount. Then I see what the IMF is telling us, how much we need additionally for to attain SDGs. The number is 16% of the GDP, and the number is so huge in dollar terms that as a minister sitting in Pakistan at this point of time, I am not in a comfortable position. I know SDGs is my commitment to our people, but I see, given this macroeconomic conditions that the global community is facing, including my own country, the major challenge to us is financing of SDGs. Major. And while we have shown some progress over the years, let me not get into it because it has already been elaborated by others in the context of Pakistan also. While we were going well and making good progress on a number of goals, before this, the COVID pandemic hit, and even after the COVID-19 recovery, we did witness a V-shaped recovery curve. The floods has negated a lot of the gains that were to be had. And this is a consequence which is is really not our doing. We are emitting less than 0.6% of global greenhouse emissions. And yet we are among the top 10 most affected countries of the world. And what we have witnessed this year, I'm sure some numbers must have been given to you, but let me point out just a few statistics to you. 1/3 of Pakistan was underwater. 33 million people of Pakistan have been affected by the floods. $30 billion loss has been incurred by the economy because of the floods. And this is only on the economic side. And that's also not so important. For me, these floods were a human catastrophe that Pakistan has gone through. And this is one statistics that I always quote when I'm talking about the floods. When you have something like 600,000 expecting mothers not having a home, this is human catastrophe. When you have 75,000 mothers delivering under open sky, this is human catastrophe. And a human catastrophe, as I said, for which we haven't done much. We are not emitters, major emitters. We are just sufferers of others' emissions. So climate justice is something that we in this room should sit together, because a lot of our countries, this is not my own country, this is all our problems. We need to stand together and move forward. This is an area that we really, along with the other 17 SDGs, should be really focusing on. Out of school children, high health consequences, economic consequences of first COVID-19, and how climate, in our case, adverse climate catastrophe has affected us. These are problems which today, climate may be a problem which today has hit us very badly. Tomorrow it may be some other nation. So let's just stand together on this SDGs and raise a single voice. We have to not only sit and get our own housework together, we need to raise more resources. We have to help out in strategizing and prioritizing the SDGs in our own local context. We have to make sure that every rupee spent on SDGs is well spent. While we do talk about lack of finances, we don't focus enough on more effective and more efficient use of finances. This is something that we together should be sitting down and thinking about. And very importantly, as I said, and I started my talk with it, is that for me, a very important challenge at this point of time is the financing of the side of the SDGs. How can a country like Pakistan, which is going through macroeconomic stresses, we're not the only country in the region and globally going through the macroeconomic stresses. In these difficult global times, the more vulnerable countries have been affected more. How are we supposed to raise something like $4 trillion globally? And we in Pakistan, how are we supposed to come up with those additional resources that we need to provide for our people? Basic things which are important and which are our commitment to our people in terms of the SDG goals. UNSCAP is here as well. Our friends from across the region are here as well. UN agencies has been very proactive in promoting SDGs and also helping us out. My gratitude to them in management of this flood, in helping us with the rescue and relief. But the whole effort, it was mammoth, but they helped us out, and I'm very grateful to all the countries across the global community who have helped us in our difficult times. But this is just the beginning of an exercise. Rehabilitation and reconstruction has to take place along with SDGs. Now, I'm saying to myself, with macroeconomic constraints, with such big investments required just to cover up the losses that we've had to incur because of the floods, how is the region, we and I pose this question to the other region members also. How are we going to invest enough in the SDGs to attain the targets and meet our respective targets? So this is a very big question. And I think just as we did in COP27, we countries got together and we raised a voice. And we said that we need to not only cooperate and help us each other out with good best practices and facilitating each other as to the best mechanism forward, most effective mechanisms and strategies forward. We also need to raise our voice to ask some of our developed brethren, the developed country, that come and help us out, because this is not just us being affected, this is the global community being affected. And with these difficult times where there is global recession, our exports are contracting, investments are contracting, our avenues to access capital internationally is contracting because of large, large demands on it. And given the fuel and food insecurities that most of our countries, or at least some of our countries, are very severely affected by, how are we going to manage all this? And I think one of the things that should come out of a forum like this is a very clear set of resolutions and recommendations for us, not only for our own selves to get our own efforts prioritized, but and the region to prioritize, for also for the global community. This is something that the United Nations can really help us put forward, along with some of the other multilateral agencies which are development oriented, are helping out countries. So I think times for us to contemplate, but not lose hope. If we are together, if we are there to take it up as a challenge, as they say, every challenge, every difficult time is actually a challenging time, is actually an opportunity for you to get up, strengthen yourself and capacities, and move forward. And this, I think, is something that we will be planning to do. We should do really together, as well as individually in our own countries. And regular monitoring is something which will, and learning from our own deficiencies and our own mistakes is something that is needed. The reason MDGs were not very clearly a success, that should not really be the case with SDGs. And let's hope that we learn better with from our own experiences and get together as a voice and helping each other and raising it also for the developed world. As I said, someone was talking about Goal 17 today. Goal 17 is not only about our own South-South cooperation, it's also about North-South cooperation, not only in terms of technologies and helping out, also financing and creating this space, the fiscal space for the developing countries, which are part of the world, particularly in these difficult times, really, really need. So thank you all, and thank you for inviting me here. And I'm looking forward to some of the outcomes of this consultation, of these consultations from SDPI as well as the UNSCAP. And let's get together and come over these difficult times. Thank you all, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, madam. Indeed, this is our country, this is our world, and we must own it and collectively work towards its betterment. With that, I'd like to conclude this session. Thank you very much to all of you for being very patient and sitting through this session. We'll also be continuing this session after lunch break. So I hope to see you all here again at 3 p.m. Lunch is served outside. Thank you very much. To all the panelists, if you could bear with us 2 minutes more for a group photo. Thank you.